Hello and welcome to Eavesdropping at the Movies. I'm Mike.
And I'm Jose.
And today we've been to see The Naked Gun. 2025 remake. This, to me, was torture.
It wasn't torture to me.
This was so much harder to watch than Bring Her Back, for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't like... I mean, I think I laughed more than anyone else in the audience.
Yes.
Or I didn't hear other people laugh as much as I did. Though, you know, I found it so dull that I drifted off at several points, actually.
Really?
Yes. So I suppose... I don't know what that says, if it says anything. But I think I was never a fan of these movies in the 80s. You know, the original...
80s and 90s.
Yeah, Naked Gun and so on. And it wasn't for any reason other than I think it's the kind of film that relies on a huge amount of cultural capital in relation to pop culture. You don't get the joke if you don't get the reference, right? Every joke is in relation to a reference. Yeah. The film noir mode, or the previous series, or knowing who Leslie Nielsen is, or O.J. Simpson, right? Like, yeah.
There are a lot of jokes of that type, although there's also a lot of general kind of wordplay and slapstick and things, which I would say, although the wordplay certainly relies on an understanding of the language and how they're playing with it. Slapstick doesn't. Slapstick crosses cultural boundaries.
It does, but this doesn't have that much slapstick.
We didn't have enough good slapstick.
Yeah.
It tried. I was really squirming in my seat. I mean, I haven't felt this way since we saw Cats. If you remember, I had to leave my seat.
Yes, I do.
You know, and it was like genuine. I hadn't experienced something like that before, and this was close to it. I was having a really tough time with it, and so I thought this looked bad from the trailers. We're in reboot territory these days. Everything's a reboot and everything's a legacy sequel, and this is doing both. And so this is, technically it's being set up as a sequel to the original Naked Gun films, and before that Police Squad, the TV series, which starred Leslie Nielsen as Frank Drebin. And we have Liam Neeson. I mean, they've gone basically for the actor whose name is closest to Leslie Nielsen as far as they can find. You have Liam Neeson playing his son. You have the scene where he look at his dad's picture, and that you're referring to that as you have to know that Leslie Nielsen was his dad in order to understand that. You certainly have to understand that O.J. Simpson was in those original films to get his part in that joke.
We had a discussion before we saw the film about the casting of Liam Neeson, and I said I couldn't imagine him in the Leslie Nielsen part because, Leslie Nielsen was bright and poppy and he had energy and, and he was also kind of blank. Whereas, I think of Liam Neeson as somebody who carries like a cloud of sadness around him, right? There's something kind of mournful and weighty about his voice, his presence. And I just couldn't imagine him kind of being successful in a role like this.
It didn't strike me as an obviously smart bit of casting, but he has done comedy, and I think that's why they were looking at him for this. So he hasn't done a lot of comedy, but he did Life's Too Short, which was a Ricky Gervais, Stephen Merchant sitcom that was really, really bad. He had a wonderful scene in it where he comes into their office. He's as himself. They're all as themselves. And he says, I want to get into doing stand-up. And then he proceeds to do an improv scene with Ricky Gervais where he refuses to say anything other than I've got full-blown AIDS. He's just like, he actually does play on, I think, that kind of I carry around with me a weight of the world because he refuses to say anything other. And they're going, can you lighten it up a little bit? And he just refuses to. That works really well. I think he was in Ted or Ted 2 for a scene, and that kind of works well. And he was again playing on his persona. So that's why they've looked into this. I think it said this is from the producers of Ted, so I think they've seen that and gone, there's a reboot in this, right? There's that character can be rebooted around him, and I don't think it works. I mean, I think it's partly him. He's not he's a very good actor, but I was thinking throughout the film, how would this scene have worked in the old films, or in Police Squad, the TV series, or in the Zucker Abrams Zucker Productions, which is where this all comes from. I was thinking the way those worked is they had wide shots. You saw them play out a scene with very little cutting. You had the occasional cut, but this is modern filmmaking. This is modern continuity. This is shot reverse shot. It's constant cutting to the thing. You don't get to see things play out. There's an occasional shot where they do play that a little bit, like the bit where he's beating up henchmen here, and suddenly you see there's a queue of them, and he's just beating them up one by one, and it goes like next customer. You know, that's the kind of joke it would have played in the old days. They play it here, and I appreciate. I saw what they were trying to do. I didn't laugh at it, but I was thinking like that's one thing that has that feeling that I was hoping they would come back with. Like I say, from the trailer, I thought this looks like it's going to be missing the mark. This isn't going to have that vibe that I so identify with those. And I think it's because Police Squad, which was the original series that Naked Gun was then built on, and Airplane before that, I think Police Squad was 82, Airplane was 80. They were spoofs, right? And they were built on kind of self-serious kind of disaster movies, which Airplane was a direct parody of Airport 1975. It basically copied the script. And Police Squad was based on those very self-serious police procedurals, like Adam 12 or whatever it was. And those that kind of, you know, it's a very specific kind of parody, and it works really well. And that, because those things are now so many decades old, it's no longer kind of relevant. They're interested in doing that anymore. But then what they're parodying here, if they are parodying something, is much more vague. I mean, because could be, they could have updated it to we're parodying the heist movie, the action movie, and they kind of are. But it's
Mission Impossible is
there are elements of these, but it's far less thought through. It's far less consistent as a concept.
I have other problems. I mean, basically, you know, going back to where we started, which was with Liam Neeson, I think he's not bad, but he's not good. His timing is almost there, but it's somehow not quick enough, really. You know, it feels kind of tired. And in relation to that tiredness, I feel the cast is 30 years too old. I mean, this might have worked better with a cast of 30-year-olds, right? Rather than 70-year-olds or 60-year-olds. Like, there's just kind of, you know, something about the age alone that is kind of off-putting. There's like kind of it lacks the energy and the naivete and, you know, kind of that kind of drive or propulsion that kind of that smartness and that youthfulness that you associate with this type of parody. I mean, you know, Leslie Nielsen was thought to be old when he starred in them, and I think he must have been in his 40s, right?
But he looked old. I mean, I don't agree with you on the age thing.
He had white hair.
Yeah.
You know, but
he didn't carry an air of youth around with him.
Carry an air of energy. I mean, I think Liam Neeson looks 70 or whatever he is, right? And it's tired, and you know, and I don't think it's funny. And I think, you know, all of those shots where he takes his clothes off, or there's a joke about him taking his clothes off, kind of, you know, when you're a 40-year-old doing that or a 30-year-old doing that, you know, there's an element of embarrassment, but also sexiness. This is just like pure embarrassment, really, you know. So I think the youth matters. You know, and those Airplane movies and so on, they were youth movies, right? What is this kind of gerontophilia movies or whatever? So I think that works against the humor in the film.
I don't agree with that, I must say. With all the things
why don't you agree?
With all the things that I didn't like about the film, the age of the people is not one of them. I think old people falling over, doing silly things, being daft, trying to understand or actually understanding youth culture is quite funny. You know, the scene where Liam Neeson complains that the first season of Buffy has been deleted off his TiVo, and then he goes into detail about the episodes that he hasn't got. Again, I didn't laugh. On paper, though, I saw it was quite funny. I saw how they were getting it. I didn't mind that kind of joke, because it's the old person playing as well, not only old, but old and kind of stuffy and professional, all things he's meant to connote. Then is also a kind of a fanboy of Buffy.
I think it's a joke written by a 50-year-old and spoken by a 70-year-old.
I mean, it didn't make me laugh. And
I didn't find it funny. So
you know, there's a lot of things that didn't make me laugh, but I don't think that's what's counting against it. I think it's the whole thing's not witty enough. You think, again, I'm just because it's a Naked Gun film.
Okay, let me tell you another problem of the age thing, right? Kind of, if this film had been made, you know, in the style and the spirit of those Airplane films, rather than just kind of taking the obvious, it would have included, jokes from the internet, or video games or YouTube or TikTok or what, kind of, where so much of the pop cultural life of the moment is taking place. There wasn't a single kind of reference to any of that. It was all really to kind of, previous cinema and a lot of 1940s cinema. I mean, there was a joke from Double Indemnity kind of, in the middle of it, right? Like the whole about what speed are you going on, kind of, that's directly taken from Double Indemnity. So, kind of, who is the film speaking of in relation to the references that it uses?
Well, I think it's trying to speak to everyone and anyone. I mean, I think that... I do understand what you mean about it lacking a reference to youthy things. But, I mean, the film, it has got 250 jokes in it, and, 5 of them made me laugh at all. And it just speaks to an attempt to throw out any idea. I mean, that's the kind of thing that we think back on, like Airplane, and say, the thing about that film was there were so many jokes there. There was always another one coming. But so many of those jokes work so well. It's a constant laugh riot. It's all subjective, right? Comedy's very subjective. The thing is, having seen the trailer and thinking this is going to go very badly and not be the right kind of thing, you then started to hear good word of mouth when the film came out. And you thought, okay, I went into this in a good mood. Went into this thinking this will surprise me, and it didn't. But like I say, you think back on those older films and you think, how much those made you laugh, how few of those jokes fell flat, even how few of them have aged badly. I mean, comedy is notorious for aging badly, and so many of those jokes hold up in every way. And so here, on paper, you go, yes, they're doing the same thing. 250 jokes. It's breakneck speed. There's always the next joke coming. But they're just not working. So, obviously, this is very subjective. There's a huge degree of what do you find funny, what's your taste, and that sort of thing. But I found this poorly written. Many of the jokes badly conceived, or quite obvious, or quite lame, or I'd seen them before.
Or lazy. Because you were referring earlier, in relation to the diversity of jokes, that there were a lot of word puns, right? And there are. But, word puns in a movie are about the laziest kind of humor you can make, I think.
Well, I mean, you used to... in the old days, they did sell them, and there was... And whether it was because... I mean, they're talking about Liam Neeson giving a great deadpan performance here. I mean, I guess that's sort of the way you would describe it, as deadpan, but I think there is...
Or no can pan.
But there's still feels like there's winking at the camera in this, which there wasn't in the original. I mean, in the old stuff, you really felt like they hardly even knew the camera was there. Here, there is performance for the camera, and it just doesn't feel right. It feels a little bit too self-conscious and things. In fact, just before the film started, we also saw the trailer for the new Spinal Tap film. So Spinal Tap came out
another geriatric comedy.
Yeah. So Spinal Tap came out in 1985 or something, 87 maybe. And that really was not winking at the audience. I mean, I've heard that when they kind of had the idea for the film and they maybe made a short version of it or something like that, kind of movie execs were saying, okay, now I get this, like this fake documentary thing, but don't you think at some point you should tell the audience, let them know that it's all fake? And you go, no. Like, the point is they're either on the boat or they're not, right? We find this very funny, and we're just playing this completely straight, and that's what we like. And you look at the trailer for the new one, and it feels very much like the trailer for the new Naked Gun did, where suddenly jokes are starting to become very obvious. They feel quite written. I mean, it's obviously all going to be based around improv, because the old film was, and that's how Christopher Guest, in particular, works. But it does feel kind of written. It does feel kind of obvious. It feels like it's been set up. It feels like it's for the audience in a way that the old one didn't. And I think it feels like that film, and it feels like this film, are going to be about underestimating the audience.
Well, I don't know, but it's certainly not an exciting watch. One of the problems that I had with it was the look. Right, and again, this puts me in doubt about, Cineworld's projection system outside of IMAX, because the film felt so dark. The look was so dark.
Yeah.
And you think, like, a dark look for a comedy? Like, I thought that was kind of part of the problem. So, you have all of these old people in this kind of dark film, that's supposed to be, like, bright and twinkly and whatever, and it just isn't. It's just, kind of a complete wash.
Yeah, and the element of the look that I objected to was, as I've alluded to, kind of the framing and the editing. things like that. Things like, you know, framing, editing, camera movements, the way that shots were set up, the way in which it didn't feel like this was being set up visually to emphasize things that could make you laugh, to create compositions that would make you laugh.
Yeah.
You know, this was...
Or sounds that would make you laugh. I mean, it's not very inventive in those ways at all.
It looks like, you know, big quotes, a normal movie. It's just, this is the way that you would make any kind of, you know, action movie, police procedural. Like, and I guess that's the thing, is like, that is what it's parodying, it, or to an extent, I guess it's kind of building on the modern version of the films that the old films were parodying. But I don't know, it just feels wrong-headed. Like, if it's not funny, then why are you doing it? And it's not funny. It's not funny.
I mean,
it's just really boring to look at and really distracting to look at. And actually, the editing eats into jokes. The editing ruins timing. There are jokes where, you know, you should be able to see the delivery and the reaction at once. Things like that. See them both in the frame at the same time. All the time I was thinking, the way that these jokes would have looked had it been done in 1988 by the Zuckers would have been so different. It would have allowed you to find the joke yourself, in a sense, or it just wouldn't have eaten into it. It would have let it play. It just wasn't doing any of that. It was very obtrusive filmmaking, I thought.
Yeah, I thought also there weren't a great variety of jokes. I mean, at the beginning, you know, when they bust the safe and they open the safe and it says plot device or whatever, I thought, oh, that's funny. I'm hoping there's more.
Funny. Yeah.
I'm hoping there's more of that type of thing, you know, happening. And there wasn't really.
No.
You know, so, and actually just thinking back on it, another thing where the age mattered for me was, you know, when the little girl comes prancing in and all of a sudden it becomes Liam Neeson, right? And then, you know, there's all of these, I don't know, somersaults and kind of so on in the background. Yeah, it's just like, you think, you know, he's going to break a leg. Like, you know, age matters. And I'm not... So I hope I'm not sounding as I'm kind of ageist or you know, I am an old person. So, you know, I'm kind of speaking from that perspective. But I think there's something about people of a particular age doing, you know, that goofy adolescent comedy, which I think is what Airplane was, actually. And it just, the two things don't mix together for me.
There were jokes that I liked. A couple of them involved kind of text on screen. One of them was where the owl, who is his dad, has helped him out and flies away. He's saying, "Thank you, I love you, Dad, I love you, Dad." And as the owl flies off, it just puts up a subtitle saying, "I'm proud of you, son." That really made me laugh. So silly. And just a little bit before that, when they're getting into the arena for the fight, which is where the whole thing happens at the end, on screen it says 48 minutes to midnight, and there's a crowd outside, and then someone stumbles into that text and falls over it, like the text is actually there. That made me laugh. And I think the reason that one made me laugh in particular was because it was so fast. Like, it comes on screen, it happens, and then it's gone, and you're moving on. And like, suddenly in like 5-10 seconds you had this sense of pace that was just nowhere else in the film. And this is a short film, I've said to you before, it's like 90-95 minutes. They're in and out in this film. This is what you want this kind of comedy to be. And it still needed more. The
length is another issue, because we were so happy that it was only 97 minutes, but then it felt like 3 hours.
It felt very, very long. I mean, I did check the time after what turned out to be half an hour. I was thinking, wow, there's still an hour of this left, which is something that normally happens in a 3-hour film.
So I suppose, you know, the last thing I want to explore, because I think, you know, we can't go on just finding fault with it.
Oh, can't we?
No. But the question is, why have people liked it? Because, I mean, like you, I didn't much like the trailer. I found it hard to imagine Liam Neeson working successfully in this role. And then friends were posting on Facebook and they really loved it. They had such a good time. What are they seeing that I'm not seeing?
I don't know. I'm not sure I want to know. It really scares me. You feel like these people live among us. You know? I know some of them.
These zombies. They're really zombies.
Because, you know, granted, I haven't seen a lot of press or a lot of response, but the press and response that I have seen has been universally positive.
I know.
And I wonder where the negative responses are.
Well,
there've got to be some.
My only warm feeling is in seeing Pamela Anderson in a starring role in a studio movie, and you think, yay, she deserves it. Right?
I thought she was really good, actually.
Yeah, and she was really.
She was really good. She understood the role she was playing, the image that she was selling,
and she was
the part she had
smart
to play,
with it.
and then she gets up on stage and gets to do some goofy stuff that really works. I think. So I was with her the whole way. Like I liked seeing her, and I thought she fit that role perfectly.
Yeah, she was perfect.
In a way that Liam Neeson didn't.
So
and in a way that the rest of the film just didn't give any advantage to anyone because of the way they were filming it.
Yeah. So that was the only bright spot for me.
Just cutting into everything. I mean, the bit where like he gets given his, fancy new self-driving car, and he says, "Drive forward 30 feet." I think this was in the trailer actually. Drive forward 30 feet. So the car drives off, and it's still plugged in to the charging thing, and it pulls a bunch around the ground, and then pulls a hole out of the wall, and prisoners start coming out of the jail. Funny idea. But ruined by cutting into it too much, cutting into Paul Walter Hauser's reaction, who's his sort of his second in command type, cutting into his reaction in the car, going, "Oh, that's fast," or whatever. Like, and again, I'm thinking how you do this is you show this wide angle from the side, you show the car driving off, you see it all happening, you see the wall break, you see the prisoners come out, and then you cut into reactions once that's happened. In fact, the way because another part of that is that funny prisoners come out. So that one funny prisoner is the one in the Hannibal Lecter mask. And again, funny idea. But again, the way it would have happened in the old days is you would have just noticed him in the crowd. It wouldn't have focused on him. That's the difference in the way these films are being made, I think. There's a thing about, last example of how, they ruined jokes. You have confrontation finally after the chase between Liam Neeson and the baddie. I can't remember who plays him. And Liam Neeson starts giving a speech saying this is whatever the hell it is. And then you cut back to him, and it's suddenly Dave Bautista giving the speech. And he gives it for a little bit, and then Liam Neeson comes back in and says, because you hear the toilet flush, right? Liam Neeson was going to the toilet, he handed over to Dave Bautista to give his speech, and then he goes, "Thanks, Dave," and Dave goes, "I'll see you on Sunday." And you go, "Okay, I didn't laugh very much, but I got it, and it's gone." And then the joke keeps going. You then go over to Dave Bautista off screen. He's left the scene, you thought, and then you go over to him. You see him get ripped apart by a crowd. That's the thing that's happening in this film, is the crowds go mental. And so, they've determined to add this bit onto the joke that doesn't work, and then you come back to them, and in order to get back into the scene, you basically have a character go, "Anyway, where were we?" Like there's no flow to this.
No.
It's all it's chopped up and very badly put together. I didn't like it.
For me, that example that you mentioned, of the car, is also in counterpoint to that. And I always return to Lubitsch because I think he is the comedy director the director par excellence, comedy or not. But the way that he would build on a joke, right? And it would build and build and build and build. And in this one, you think, like, the car comes out and you see it pulling, like, all these things, and then the prison wall. And you think, well, then he'll reverse at some point. Or, you imagine the different ways that the joke could be built. And could be still funny. And nothing happens, like it's just not funny, right? And it doesn't do the obvious, right? Like the obvious ways of building on that joke,
Well, I mean, one of the things that I like about the original stuff that I keep referring back to, the Police Squad and the old films, is that kind of mad stuff happens kind of without consequence a lot of the time. Yes. So you would have that joke of the car pulling everything and the wall coming down. And prisoners coming out, and then no kind of follow up to it. Like it would just happen. Like that would be the funny thing that had happened. So I don't so much object to it didn't have a follow up to it, but I just think the core joke did not work as best as it could.
Yes, well,
so
that's why even the originals are like second order comedy.
Oh no, they're so good. I mean, I really do. Like I again taste all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I really do love those things, and you do actually think to yourself, is it because I was showing these when I was young, right? Because like I was showing Airplane from a very young age. My dad loved it, so is that what's kind of just there's like a residual goodwill from your youth that you just carry with you for the rest of your life, and maybe an element of that, and therefore will young people of today see this film and see it in the same way that young people did in 1980 seeing Airplane? I don't know. I doubt it, though. I do think there is something qualitatively different and worse.
Well, I mean, I just saw those films. Well, first of all, as I told you, it was exclusive. I mean, I had this boyfriend who told me that I don't have a sense of humor, really, and he can fuck off, basically, because, kind of what he meant is that I didn't respond to a type of humor that he appreciated, right? Which was kind of camp and it ironized and it turned things upside down. A little bit like the way that this type of comedy works.
Yeah.
You require a huge cultural capital to get all of those jokes. So it's not a question of, having a sense of humor or not having a sense of humor. It just requires a lot of references, so that you can make the humor from it.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you're a foreigner, you lack that frame of reference. The things just kind of don't work on me, right?
Yeah.
So kind of that was part of it. But I also thought it was very white bread comedy, right? That all of the frames of reference were white middle class frames of reference, and I think that's true of those films, and I also thought, the best comedy kind of, it's not only that it makes you laugh, but it makes you laugh at particular things. It kind of ridicules, it criticizes, it, blah. I don't think any of those original films did that either, but, again, I could be missing something. Anyway, certainly this one doesn't. And this time I get all the references, right? So, it's not that I'm not finding it funny because I don't get the jokes. I get the jokes. Yeah. I just don't think they're funny.
I found it extremely hard to watch. I think what you're talking about when it comes to kind of understanding the cultural references and, kind of implicitly having to be included in the in-group that these films are for, has a certain truth to it. And, I also think that it's something that these films, at their best, can take apart. Like, once you get the joke, or you encourage you to learn about the joke, learn why the joke is being made, how it's being made, and once you learn that, you have been included. I think there can be an element of that. I do think that the reason that Mr. Bean is like globally known and basically the biggest comedy character, essentially, like outside of maybe, I don't know, cartoons, is because it's completely non-verbal. It's completely non-verbal. It's all slapstick. It's very good at that. It's all funny faces and people falling over and noises, and and they get shown on planes and anywhere in the world. If you've been able to get on a plane, you've seen it. It cut through so much of that cultural stuff.
But Mr. Bean is also about the little guy, and about social and bureaucratic oppressions, and it's got a real point of view that I think is lacking in this film.
Oh yeah.
And one could go even further, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like kind of the only black person, in the show that really makes an impact is like the O.J. Simpson joke, right?
In this film, sorry. Yeah.
And that kind of leaves a sour taste. It's not as if
there's CCH Pounder who plays his boss, who's constantly there.
Okay.
And she's decent. She's a good current presence. She's also playing on her persona from, I think it's The Shield,
right?
Which is basically a kind of shouty boss who is pissed off all the time. So I mean, it's not it's not a joke that gives her the most kind of. It's not playing on her ability to play a variety of roles. It's playing on her role that she has played very famously.
Yeah.
But she's there.
Yeah, okay, I take it back. That joke still kind of leaves a sour taste, really. I mean, I suppose you couldn't miss it. But, in a film that seems so white bread, it kind of stood out and left a nasty taste,
Yeah, well, the reason it left a nasty taste for me is because it took what was a good joke, and actually I thought the best joke, maybe in the film, certainly in the trailer, which is that Liam Neeson misses his dad and hopes to make him proud, and then you see all these other cops playing that same trope.
Yes.
That's a good joke. And then you go, this one particular cop, his dad has now turned out to be a very unseemly person in real life. And then he does this look to the camera about it, and you go, no, looks to the camera is the opposite of what you should be doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Just let the joke be, And the thing about the whole group of detectives in Police Squad, all playing the same trope comes up once or twice again. You think, again, you found a joke that worked, and now you're overdoing it because you're so happy that
the coffee is the best example of that. I mean, initially funny, but after the 30th time, I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's just more coffee through the fucking window.
So, anyway, I don't enjoy it, and I don't recommend it.
No, I had a really bad time.
So, so on that note. Thank you very much for listening. We're eavesdropping at the movies, and we are on
Apple Podcasts, Audible, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, and YouTube Music. On social media, we're on Facebook and Twitter, and the website is eavesdroppingatthemovies.com.
Thank you very much for listening.
Bye-bye.